Now it's time to dive into what do authorities do about it. We have heard member states and authorities is a key player in this work with INCITE. They are encouraging us to really take action as member states, as government authorities and authority. So with that, I will like to have next slide, maybe with the people that will be in the panel. Thank you. So I have the pleasure to invite, actually it's not so gender balanced panel anymore. It was a little bit gender balanced, but then I got the message from Klara, who was here last year and really had been prepared to come, but she sort of could not make it, and I'm sure there is a good reason for that. So with that, we will not have Klara here, and in a due time, for just a minute, there was not so easy to find another person for that. But we have one in the panel that has been working for the environment, for the energy authority. So maybe he can change hats during the days when I worked at that one. No, I'm joking, of course. So let me introduce you to this very, very, very nice panel. So first of all, we have who already spoke and had a question, Johan Kuylenstierna from Swedish EPA. You can be whatever you want. If you want water, it's just behind you. So that is that one. And then we have Mattias Blomberg, who is the senior advisor at FORMAS. And you will explain a little bit what is FORMAS, because that will be needed for our listeners online, because they don't know all authorities in Sweden yet. But after this day, they will know a few of them. And then we have as well Rémy Kolessar from working for the Swedish Innovation Agency, which is Vinnova. We have heard it a couple of times already. It has been mentioned in this Impact Innovation Authorities. It's difficult with all this. And then we have Björn. Where are you? There. You sit there. Welcome. So we have Björn Langbeck, who is then working in the Swedish Agency for Economic and Regional Growth. So I think we start with you, Johan. I mean, this was first time, I guess, you heard something about INCITE in this context. I know we met when we had the webinar in Swedish EPA, 3rd of June, and now it's a little bit more time. Yeah. So I maybe reflect a little bit about what you heard so far, and then again, if you have a question that you didn't ask when they were talking from INCITE, please, we have time for that now, because we are not 5, we are 4, so we have a little bit more time. So, okay. Johan, please.
Thanks a lot, and thanks for the invitation. And yes, I do have. I got some insight into INCITE in June when we had that workshop. Since I then had also the privilege to introduce the workshop or the seminar. So my colleagues at the Swedish EPA, they tried their best to really instruct me about that. And thank you, Isabel, for really a good presentation. I learned a lot from that as well, and I think it also explained quite a lot why we at the Swedish EPA are also part of this. I find that really nice and interesting. Of course, it's not maybe something you take for granted, but of course we have a sort of a key role linked to IED, and this is the reason also why we are also now running this government assignment and really looking at the next steps and how we will work on this. So I will not talk so much about the Swedish EPA role, but I will reflect a little bit of what I've heard this afternoon. I think it's been an extremely interesting seminar. Understanding that this is really about trying to form collaboration and ecosystems, which, where government agencies, where companies, where representatives from business, but also, of course, other actors, key actors, civil society, how we can collaborate together to drive an innovation agenda and to get the change we need. But also, interestingly, within the new political landscape of the EU, where competitiveness, security, and all these other aspects are so important, to combine also with the environmental drive. We quite often we talk about the need to have policies guiding us, long-term policies needed for investments. But now we know we are living in an environment where policy and governance is changing rapidly all the time. So the security of long-term policies is not really there. And we have to manage that. We have to manage it as government agencies, We talk a lot about the omnibus process, for instance, and simplification, while we at the same time we need to work with implementation, and I'm sure business feels the same thing. You know, they talk about the need for long term, but at the same time we know that there is so much change going on. And I think these kinds of discussions and the collaboration we have here is absolutely essential for this. One thing I also really take from this morning, and as something that really stimulated me, I must say, was impact insight. Quite often we hear that one of the challenges in Sweden is that we are not really on the ball. We tend to wait a little bit. We wait and see what the EU will decide, and then we start the implementation and we look, okay, so how do we act? Here we see an example where we take the lead, a sector together with research, good funding agencies, taking a lead role, pushing really the agenda, trying to impact what insight will be and how we can implement it in a national context. So I think that really shows one of the strengths that we have in this particular engagement that we see this morning. And of course, building on networks, which I think is something also we have as a strength in Sweden. It is quite easy to mobilize collaboration between government agencies, between government agencies and business, and also involve civil society and academia. This is not a given in many other parts of Europe or in the world. And I think we have something to share that, the experience of how do you really build this kind of ecosystem that you need to drive transformation, but also to drive implementation that leads to change. So these are some of the thoughts, I think, from at least from me, personal reflections from this afternoon.
Yeah, you have it sound? Yeah, thank you. No, thank you, Johan. I'm a little bit flushing here. Thank you for all the nice words, because I'm also part of the project, Impact Insight. So, well, I think also it's important to understand, maybe you didn't hear it, but online we have at least participants from at least 10 different countries. Yeah. Okay, not all are member states or authorities. They are research institutes, technology providers, but it's good to hear on the Swedish spirit. So it was really good to build.
Yeah, I mean, because we have that government assignment, of course, we have that formal role to see what should be done afterwards, but having implementation at the same time, yeah. I think it's perfect. We learn from each other, so we push things forward in that way.
Good start, good start. And then I think we go a little bit beyond. So we go to you, Mattias, from FORMAS. Please first maybe explain what FORMAS is. Not very long, but short.
Short.
Go
yes.
ahead. Welcome.
Sure. Thank you. Very nice to be here, and very nice to listen to all the speakers during this afternoon. It's been a crash course in insight, really. FORMAS is a Swedish Research Council for sustainable innovation, or sustainable development, sorry. And we support research and innovation within the areas agricultural sciences, environment, and spatial planning. So quite broad areas which cover a lot of the challenges that we are facing in society today. And I really like to listen to insight, and the major goal in insight is, of course, very much in line with what FORMAS work, that we want to be able to transform society into something more sustainable. That by cutting emissions from, the large emission industries, that is, of course, really, really important. And both going for the greenhouse gases, but also going for other type of pollutions to air, soil, and waters. That is very much in line with what FORMAS is working with. For one example, we have 4 different national research programs at FORMAS, which work on climate, which works on the food system, which work on spatial planning, and also on waters. So that is really in line with that work. And I was also nice to hear that in the end that this cross-sector water technology also will be part of insight, which I really liked. Another thing that I enjoyed in the afternoon was listening to also that it's the push in insight has to really make industry more transformative. I know a lot of industries do a lot, and they really try to transform what they are doing. And I think insight can really help in that, showing them what type of technology can be available. So that's, thank you.
Thank you so much. And then we go to you, Rémy. It's more easy maybe to understand because we have write it out, but maybe a little bit explain what is Vinnova and also your reflections from on the first round, what we heard today.
Yes, of course. Vinnova is Sweden's innovation agency and is very much well represented in this in this process and in this initiative as a funder, but also as what we are doing every day is increasing Sweden's innovation capacity. And we're doing that by mobilizing and bringing actors together. So we're not only funding actors, we are actually working in mobilizing all actors on the forces and the different stakeholders. And this is a very good example for that in this perspective. Very nice to hear the result and also from, especially actually from impact INCITE, because we're not only funding, we actually gave the name to that, thanks to our Director General, Darja Isaksson. So that's also a very good example of what we're doing to support bringing actors together and mobilizing to bring forward innovation, and innovation to support sustainability, but also in the very important context that Johan actually explained on the geopolitics, the EU agenda in this time, and combining competitiveness and security and net zero reduction climates. And I think the rationale for INCITE and all the things we've been doing a couple of years ago are actually the same, but we are using it actually to address many other challenges of our time with security and the national security also, actually.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say something about this before I give the floor to you, Björn, because it's a lot of words. So what this project, Impact INCITE, yes, it was what we concluded last year. We had, and you will do it as well. Everyone will have a possibility to say something in the mic, summing up what have we heard today. And then Darja was one of the last ones saying, well, we really need to go and Impact INCITE. So that was so this was the conclusion from her side last time. So that was I just wanted to mention that. But then, like you said, there is this Swedish Metals and Minerals. No, there it is.
Yeah.
Swedish, and we have this net zero industry, which is also a big program that is funded by you, and they are not here. Klara is not here from Energy,
Yes.
and also from
FORMAS.
FORMAS, sorry, it's too much. But there was a call for projects, and I just because it was in Swedish, so I translated it. So the call was really called Impact Innovation Industry, Regulation and Policy Instruments for Sustainable Industry. Sort of working with policy influence. And I will come back to that later because we need to discuss. It was a one-year project. It was Swedish Metals and Minerals and Net Zero. They did this, and we really appreciate it from the program. It's like if we don't get this money, who will do it? So we were applying for it and got money. But that was 1 year. Policy influence, policy need to be more than 1 year project. So we will come back to this because I think this is a key thing to manage to get out the research, get out new techniques, to help us to transform. We will come back to that, but I want to say, just to explain where this project was coming from. Okay, it's not me who should speak, it's you, Björn. Please give us a little bit of, because you're a little bit different to the other ones here, so maybe, or at least your authority. So please give an introduction to what is this economic and regional growth, which sounds like it's connected to INCITE as well.
Well, the basic idea of the agency is to promote sustainable growth all over Sweden. We have had during the years a lot of focus on especially and the small and medium-sized companies and have them to grow. And we see that this INCITE initiative is very important because it provides a possibility for the small companies to reach the larger market in an easier way, because most of the or at least a lot of the interesting new techniques are developed in the small companies, and they also have they always have a hard time to find the customers. The first customer maybe they can find, they want to grow, but it's hard to get out on the market and to really meet all their customers. This INCITE initiative, I think we can provide a very good way for the small companies to reach their market, to grow faster, and especially Sweden has been very good in environmental protection and all of this area. So it's to me it is like a home game for Swedish development and Swedish small companies. We have at Tillväxtverket, our agency, we have had a program called Swedish Clean Tech, where we have promoted the export of clean tech companies, clean tech technology, not only within the EU, but also in the rest of the world. That has been fairly successful, and I think that within INCITE we'll have a possibility to do the same. So it is good to have innovations and develop new, but we need to promote also the growth of the companies and to use the new ideas in a broad perspective, a lot of companies and a lot of customers, because that is actually what is driving the change, what is promoting this transformation that we want. So that's our role in this. We do have some money also for invention within the European Regional Development Funds, but that is a small part for us. So the main thing is that we want to get access to the small and medium-sized companies and have them to be part of the INCITE to reach their customers.
Thank you very much. This is one thing that I want to discuss with all of you. How do we find those small companies? How do we get them to know that INCITE exists? Because what Eric and colleagues said from INCITE, this is a marketplace to showcase your technique. I mean, you open up the full EU market for them, but you need to register. It will not happen. So for me, it's important for us to really, one of our conclusions will be, it's very difficult to find the stakeholders that should be uploading techniques. And I mean, I don't know what tool you have, Björn, to reach to the... and I will ask all of you. And I also forgot to say the panel, if you want to take the floor, just sing. I want you to talk to each other more than with me. So I will not have question answer. I want you... So, well, in the mic, Johan, please. Okay, so do you have any... What do? You send out a newsletter, say, hello, we have INCITE, please register. Or what can we do about this? And that goes for all of you to think about. How can we reach project leaders? How can we reach technology providers? I mean, Jill and Tova, just to introduce, said we spend so many hours on trying to check which project leaders, which programs should we contact to say INCITE exists. Put Steel together with Vinnova and try to figure out how many research projects we have. 600. Which one of them should we choose? So this is a question for all of us. How do we reach those stakeholders that should be interested in INCITE? We have many here, we have many online, but there is more to get to catch. So maybe you start, Björn, because you talked about it a bit already.
There is one European program that is called Enterprise Europe Network, which is a program partly funded by the Commission for SME companies to grow their market on their internal market. I think what is needed is a connection between the EEN, which is run in each member state, and also in some other countries outside the EU, because EEN exists in 70 or 72 countries. That is a marketplace where the small companies that they want to find new customers are coming in. So we need to get a connection between the EEN program and the INCITE, because they are different ways of working, but they have the same goal, to have a sustainable growth. And so I think that we haven't talked about that today, but we can do that in further on, because I think there is a possibility to find the companies, and also, of course, Vinnova's book of all the projects. I'm one of the persons reading project applications for Vinnova. I've seen so many interesting projects over the years within this area of INCITE, with all the new companies, with all the new ideas and so on. So there must be a very good database of really interesting companies.
That sounds very promising. Just continue. So Johan, and then we do it.
I'm not sure if I sort of can add very much to this. I'm looking also at my colleague when it comes to sort of trying to reach out to small businesses. But in general, what we are saying as part of our responsibility is to build networks with different organizations. And of course, then build networks with those organizations that really have that kind of access. I mean, your organization, for instance, you said 4,500 companies as a membership. I mean, this is typical. I mean, the branch organizations are extremely important in this, I would argue. Many of the large companies are extremely important because they work through their value chains. So they reach them, and I think they can reach them in a way that makes them also more interested, because one of the things, being a small company, they don't have a lot of people who potentially can sit, I guess, in a lot of workshops and you know, travel to Brussels and so on, or meet government agencies for that matter. So it's really about building these ecosystems where you can reach out to different networks where all actors have their role. And I don't think maybe our direct role is to reach out to these small companies, but working with others, for instance, other government agencies that really have that kind of networks and role that we do not. And that's why we are standing all together, you know, the four of us.
It's not a coincidence that you stand together here. I can promise. I have an idea behind it. But I didn't want to especially talk about small companies, even though if they are very important. It was just because Björn was mentioning them. I'm talking about all the stakeholders. If you remember, INCITE was talking member states, industry that is regulated on the IED, industry that is delivering techniques to IED, academia and institutes. So it's about all of them.
And of course, I mean, in some of the other tools that we have, that we also have responsibility for, I mean, CBAM became more large companies as well, but there are other things coming up, like, you know, linked to, what do you call it, producer responsibility and so on. There, of course, we establish huge networks that can be used potentially for these kinds of things as well.
I put note on that. Perfect. So, Rémy?
Yes. First, I think to engage all the stakeholders and the Swedish actors in that is very crucial. And that's, of course, something we have to help together and use all the tools and the platforms we already have, not necessarily build new ones, but really use the one we have, as was said before. But what we need also is to communicate so that stakeholders understand what they will get, not what INCITE is, but what is the result of INCITE. And I think this is very important, because it's much easier to communicate the need to be, especially for, if we're talking about small and medium enterprise, they have not the resources, not the time to be part of it if we want to engage them. And so we really have to showcase why this is very important and what we will get from it. So that's something I think we can be better to provide knowledge and information on what is the importance of being in this process.
Yeah, and I think that is what do you get, not what you don't, and why. And I also I must remind you about what Eric said. As long as you can mail one mail, they will help you. This is really what he said. If you mail him, even if you are a small company, you can mail. But so this is, and that goes for all, not only small companies. So and they will help you step by step to do this. We have people in the room that has submitted, and we will hear later about it, submitted on the platform. It takes a little bit of a while to understand what on earth are they asking about, because IED is not familiar to these people. They don't know it. The researchers don't know IED either. But the merit of being on the platform is very, very big. It's on the platform, it's on the technical report, and you got some sort of star mark from Commission, if I put it bluntly. So thank you, Rémy, and now over to you, Mattias.
Yes, I have an important point from Rémy, I think, to really select what is the value for these technology providers. I'm also thinking about the innovation programs that we are running. Both the one is kind of phasing down, which is the strategic innovation programs, been running for more than a decade, a very large project portfolio and so on. So there's, of course, some gold to dig in there. And I think then you need to reach out for the ones who have the best overview of that project portfolio. So really reaching out to those companies. Impact innovation is more to come, running for 1.5 years now. So not so many projects have run to completion. So still, of course, they are not starting from zero. So that's also a platform which I think can be used.
Yeah, thank you. And also, I mean, it's also about not only IED, the connection Isabella was talking about, the permits and etc. It's also about sort of saying to inform Commission, RTD, and the research department where is more money needed. So, I mean, there is also this research angle, and maybe to go a little bit beyond about that. You said you have a big project portfolio, but how do we data mine that to be able to find out who should do that work? I mean, we did it, tried to do it for steel, and well, in the end of the day, I said we cannot talk more about lists now. We give up, and Eric was doing the same job for Commission. All the work, all the money that has been funded via Commission funding, they were data mining that, and we did it for Sweden and steel, nothing more. So, how can we? You haven't. I mean, you don't need to give promises now. But what do you think? Is it possible to do? I mean, we have your authority. We have also Vinnova, of course, and we have not today here the energy agency, of which we have the Industriklivet, and there it was quite easy to find project that was really suitable for INCITE. So you have an idea on how to?
Not really. I think it's a challenge to find, I mean, the right project, so to say. And that's why I mentioned, I mean, really reaching out to the ones knows most about the portfolio, like maybe the program director for one program, who maybe have some knowledge about this. So no good clue.
No, sorry, I want to embarrass you. We are brainstorming here because we need help. We need to work together. That's why we have this seminar, this event, this workshop. Johan?
No, I think you said something important. I mean, like,
thank you.
Yes, the Swedish Energy Agency, they have Industriklivet, and we have, of course, Klimatklivet, where also the government is putting in 1.5 billion more next year. So it's 4.5 billion next year. And we have 8 billion sort of in investment, the investment sort of framework, which means that there is a lot of things going on there. And there are quite a lot, both mid-sized and small companies involved. So I think that, of course, there we have to keep very close track of exactly what is happening. So you're right. I mean, I think it shouldn't be that difficult, depending on the sector, of course. To find information that could be interesting also for INCITE and for the way forward, especially when we are broadening out to other sectors as well.
Yeah, you want to say? Yeah.
Yes. One thing I can add to that is that we also have, as part of the the Net Zero Industry Act, we have these regulatory sandboxes, which is also something coming up, and to allow, a better possibility to try innovation without the barrier of the actual regulation, and this is part of the the tools we have, and that could be something we can use to actually identify potentially winning solutions for the future. So combining other kind of tools we have, and I think the regulatory sandboxes, which is about to be launched from the EU level, is one key.
Okay, I'm not so familiar. Now we are sort of leaving an area. I don't know so much about these sandboxes. So, but if you say so, I take note of it, of course, and I will use it later. But we can maybe come back to that, because it's interesting again to do this policy influence. Then the regulatory sandboxes, if I understood it correctly, it is a way of testing things.
Yes, in a limited aspect, and then and actually provide not only testing technical solutions, but also actually improving the regulation.
Great, because this is really what we are doing
Exactly.
with INCITE.
Exactly. That's why I.
Oh, okay, I got it. Sandboxes. It's not sandlåda, but
Putting that on the
sandboxes.
table. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Björn.
Yeah,
No.
Johan, you mentioned something before that we need to reach out to those who have the networks, and I think that is a very good way of doing it, because we as agencies we have some network, but we don't have the fine network. But we have organizations that we can work with. We have Teknikföretagen, we have RISE that knows many companies, we have Spherim, we have other organizations like the EN, as I mentioned, also the Industrial Development Center, EUC, is in Sweden, where they can reach out. So we need to work with our networks to reach out and explain about what is INCITE, what are the possibilities. And now after 1 year, we know a little bit more about what it is and how it could be used. So now I think it's the time to use our networks to reach out to those who really meet those small companies and networks. I think that is something we're good at in Sweden. So I think that is the most important way we can work as agencies.
I agree.
Exactly as you said.
Just to say something, maybe you remember Eric's slide, there were 3 different legs. So one leg was the connection with the permits, the IED, which Isabella talked about. The other one was influencing the upcoming research programs, really EU-wide, not national, of course. And the third one, that is maybe even more important, but we don't discuss it today. It's not because it's not important, but it's just another type of seminar. It's about sustainable finance, about the investors, and talking about scaling up. This will also be on the webpage saying this is information for bankers, for whatever it is, and that is also a possibility to discuss. But we don't talk so much about it because we need to have other people in the room, and we have to concentrate on the first 2 legs. But there is an even more why INCITE, because there is an added value about this, the financial resources, not only for research, but also for investments. Just wanted to say that. Okay, Johan, did you raise your hand or on this? No, okay. Not on the financial. Okay, again, I'm coming back to this. How do we find the relevant stakeholders? And in a couple of years, maybe we will have research program, maybe, I'm wishing, maybe not, in Europe and in Sweden or elsewhere in the member states, saying if you have a research program that is sort of important or irrelevant for INCITE, you should register there. You can have you have to register, or you should try to, or something like that. But today we don't have that. I mean, this was just coming in 1 year ago, so there is no requirements in the calls saying that if you have something that is relevant for INCITE, have a look and please do something. Is this something we can, I mean, again, it's not about promising anything. It's just sort of, could that be one tool to use for upcoming? INCITE is not, I mean, we don't have RTD here, so I cannot ask them, but I ask you, do you think that is something to add there? And also, I think, Johan, you have some research money for other things, but it could also be maybe connected. So a new round on this one. So maybe I start again with you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, you don't want to start. Well,
no promises. No, I think, I mean, it's hard to have ask for this in like a text for a call text, for example. Then we will have a number of people who wanted to add something. But I think, I mean, visibility is for me the key here, and this today is one way of making INCITE visible, and I think that's really also maybe a way of collecting these organizations, the companies and so on, by making it visible in the right sectors, and as you said, make it valuable for these contributors.
Anything about this in Vinnova, maybe?
Yes, actually I will frame it more related to the potential to impact the upcoming MFF, the multi-financial annual financial EU budget, and the relation between the research and innovation framework program and the other funds that will be related to it, because this is going to be a way to design the coupling between the competitiveness fund and the research and innovation framework. And that will be very important to actually combine it, because we will find the potential for addressing what kind of research thematic research we need to address, but also the funding gap of we have actually in Europe when it comes to implementing new technology or creating new companies. And so I would say that it's rather to work with the EU, the landscape and the designing of the next, the upcoming EU budget.
Yeah, MFF. That sounds like the football team in Malmö.
Yeah.
So we remember that. Another acronym. Johan, you also?
Well, I mean, only you say, should we ask them to register? I think what is really important with initiatives like this, and I think in general, if we are thinking about the change also happening in the EU in terms of the simplification agenda and so on, be careful about asking more and more and more and register and do this and do that. It has to be driven by incentives. What's the benefit? Don't just ask tick boxes. And I mean, we discussed this also internally. We are looking at now the EU Social Climate Fund, where we are responsible for building a system where you can apply for support for electrical vehicles. And actually, one of the things we really discussed internally is how do we make this simple, so we don't start to ask a lot of things just for the sake of it. And it might be really good for us to get that information for INCITE, but it has to still build on the fact that those that are on the other side see the benefit of it, and not just us top-down asking for it.
I'm not asking for more admin, I promise.
Yeah,
I promise. I'm working for
I'm a
industry.
bit surprised at the government agency. I'm talking to the industry person.
It's very crazy now. Yeah. No, I lost obvious track of my notes here. It's very difficult to read. No, okay, yeah, Björn.
Yeah, we know that money talks, but one other thing that talks is good examples. And if we can find from out of INCITE companies that say, well, due to INCITE, we found a provider of technology and so on that made it easier for us to fulfill the regulations. And another one that say, via INCITE, we got our new customers. We got a possibility to grow and to provide our technology to many more customers. Good examples talks very, very, very good. And that is more important than tick boxes. I don't like tick boxes either.
Okay, I put it down. No tick boxes. We have good example of companies in the audience that has actually registered. So we will need to spread those examples. Yeah. I just think it's time for the audience to wake up and have questions. Microcarrier, is there any questions now? And also I think Eric or colleagues in INCITE maybe reflect a little bit on what you hear from the Swedish authorities. But first, any questions? I asked you to ask questions, please. Don't be shy. Yeah. Pia, introduce yourself.
Yes, Pia Persson from Foyen Law Firm. I actually have a question from Johan, but I think you might need Isabella's help to answer that.
I love it that you say that from the beginning, so I don't have to. Yeah. Isabella, please be prepared. Listen.
Okay, so here we go. We all understand that there is a lot of work to do when it comes to the updated EID directive. Regarding the implementation on the national level. But here in Sweden we have a government that has suggested quite a lot of changes to the environmental permitting process. We have a new permitting authority that should take over some of the the tasks of the country administrative boards that are actually very well connected to the EID directive. So what do you think about that? Will that be efficient, or is that a challenge for you to keep pace with these new changes in the organization?
That's a really good question. Isabel, what are you saying? No, but you're right. I mean, and I can also say that some of you may be aware of this, but if we are looking at the time span for that, it is actually in the budget from 2027 to have such a new agency in place. If it will happen or not, we have to wait and see. But I know that there has been a lot of discussions also internally, of course. I don't know, Isabel, can you maybe update a little bit? It doesn't affect us so much,
no,
I understand.
Exactly. It's more our government that is working with the implementation, and I think actually ID has to be implemented before all these other changes will be in place. So Yes, first we will have to probably implement ID within the old system, and then it will be adjusted to new system and all the changes connected to the new permitting authorities.
And I know one of the things we have pointed out in our response, and of course I will be very careful because I would need my legal really people here. But I know that one thing they have, one thing they have. I know, so that's why I'm careful. So one thing that I know they have lifted as one, this regional presence, knowing the area, sort of, with the county board, as you're stressing, if you have a national authority, how do you keep that still? And the second thing is the shift from permitting processes to tillsyn. Supervision. And that is quite a big shift in the system in a way. So permitting processes may be faster, potentially, or easier, whatever. But then you put more responsibility on really that supervision, and that shifts the systems, and will also, ask a lot when it comes to building new capacities for that kind of system. So I just want to add that at least. That I know is one of the comments we've had about this.
I think that a lot of us is worried about the competence and the staff of the CABs and those who know about the directive and what will happen if you form a new organization from scratch. It's not that easy to build a big authority like that.
No, that's true. And I know that I've heard that a lot of people are afraid of that. There will be a gap. In particular, when we have so much happening on the green transition, and there might be a gap there.
Okay, I think we should not talk about permits and permitting processes in Sweden.
Why not? It's great.
No, but it's not. It's another seminar, and we can have that one. It's okay before Christmas, or should we have it? I just want to let you know that we have a little bit of reflection from INCITE on what they have heard. So I mean, okay, it's a little bit. You are now very big on the screen here. Maybe you see yourself. Just to hear if any comments to colleagues here in the panel from your side, or any questions, or everything was crystal clear, because this is really, a help for you to also explain to other member states how Sweden is working with these questions. So I don't know who wants to start.
I will start, and I think my colleagues also they want to come in. But first of all, I want to say that this panel discussion, I think, is very important, and I think it started with the presentation of Isabella a bit before. What is important to realize in INCITE in this project is that we have been always working with the competent authorities, the member states, which are involved in the Industrial Emission Directive, the permitting, and so on. And this is not, in a way, this is not the stakeholders which are necessarily immediately relevant for INCITE. And therefore, it is very important what was said in this panel is that we need to build network towards other government authorities which are involved in innovation, like, for example, Vinnova, which are involved in economic and development growth, like Björn was mentioning. And because those are the other competent authorities in Sweden, but in other countries as well, who really can help INCITE, in fact, you see. I think that is a key point. There is a need really to get out of the, let's say, the IED bubble, to reach out to people who are involved in innovation, in funding research projects, and in helping SMEs to develop. I mean, this is very important. And I like also the point which was made, I think, by Björn, about the engaging with the Enterprise Europe network, the EEN. We actually did that. We have a good link with ISMEA. So ISMEA is actually administering the EEN network. I had meetings with Gunnar, who is in charge of that, and so they know about it. We try to inform them, but okay, we need. I take it as a good point because we have not engaged with them for a while, and we need to keep that going because indeed they have access to a lot of SMEs who are sometimes looking for information and things like that. So I think it's an important point. So I take that, and thank you for setting up this panel, because it really shows the actors that needs to be involved in INCITE. So yeah.
Thank you, Eric. Jose, Vanessa, you want to add something, or I'm keeping track of the time, but go ahead. I want to.
Yes,
Yeah,
can you
go
hear
ahead.
me?
Yeah, I hear you well. And good afternoon.
Okay, perfect. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for organizing this event. I am Vanessa Ferreira. I work at INCITE, and currently I am coordinating the pulp and paper and glass sectors. So, well, we would like to highlight also the importance of the Impact INCITE project. I think it's a very nice example that can also be followed by other member states. And if we continue, we would also like to expand not only to the iron and steel sectors, but also to the other sectors, for example, pulp and paper, glass, chemicals. And we also wanted to say that we are at your disposal to make presentations to other networks you think that need to learn about INCITE, and to support you in including the projects at our database. So basically that's it. Also, we are planning a visit to a pulp and paper mill in March next year, but we could also discuss further to include the member state authorities in these, and also perhaps expand to other visits in that travel. And that's all. Very nice to be here, and thank you very much.
Don't go anywhere, because you will come back in the final round. But we will have to wrap up this panel. So, Jose, you want to say something now, or you want to save it for later?
Yes, please, if I may, I will say that really the panel was fantastic, and putting together all these authorities that all have something to say and a connection with INCITE is phenomenal, because in this type of panel, this type of events are initiator for other things. No, it happened last week, for example, to me. I was presenting at CEFIC in the chemical sector, and a national association of a country, a member state, was there. So immediately they thought of organizing something similar. So when you put together this type of relevant panels, there is always good ideas and good things that could be role models and examples for others. No? Talking also about good example, I like a lot what I think Björn mentioned about highlighting good examples. We are always trying to find carrots to connect with INCITE, but it's not always easy. You mentioned that before, I think was Johan in a question. So showing, highlighting good example on how INCITE has benefited particular companies or particular technology providers, I think that it could be really, really positive. So I take a good note of that. No? And just last comment regarding the environmental authorities, in particular to Johan and to all the things that we are doing. I think that is really amazing, all the things that are being done in Sweden. The last time I was with you was in the webinar, and I took the opportunity to say that you were front runners in Europe, among a few others, because all the things that you are doing about engaging with us. I have a lot of meetings with several members of the EPA, with Isabella, Hannah, Helen, many people really building a strong connection and always finding new routes to articulate, engage in Sweden. No? So we really appreciate the support of authorities, not only industry as well, to really promote and launch INCITE and spread the news. No? So that's all.
Thank you so much. I was planning to have another question, but there is no more time. It's 45 minutes have gone already. So you have possibility to come back in the mic, all of you, when we have the round with Mike. So save that last comment for that. And I will big applaud to you and to you.